sangre de un gran número de cristianos mártires que también hoy, de manera dramática, sigue siendo derramada en el campo del mundo, con la esperanza cierta que fructificará en una cosecha abundante de santidad, de justicia, reconciliación y amor de Dios.
In 1980, the subversive group Sendero Luminoso initiated armed actions in Ayacucho state in the Andes of Peru. These were years of extreme violence, and at the end of the decade, the war spread to the Peruvian Amazon. Also in Ayacucho, Antonia Luzmila Riva was born, who years later, as a nun, took the name Maria Agustina, better known to all as Aguchita. Sister Aguchita always dreamed of being a missionary, to be in mission places. When Aguchita arrived, I think they expected someone a little younger, a nun who could more easily bear the difficulties that the environment presents and the scarcity of things. But Aguchita arrived at the age of 68 and with much youthful enthusiasm. Those years were very troublesome because of the presence of Sendero Luminoso here in La Florida. They said that there were many blackheads, that there would be executions, and there would be many things that we had no idea what would happen. My Aunt Aguchina's relationship with nature begins in Cora Cora, where she was born, in Ayacucho. Through her father, she knew the countryside since my grandparents had a farm, and they always took their children to the fields, teaching them how to work in the fields. It is an area where geography is barren, where there's so many limitations, but it's a city, an area where there's a lot of faith. My grandfather Damaso, Aguchina's father, was a cattle breeder and a merchant. He was an attorney without a title, whom the common people liked very much because he enabled them to win lawsuits in favor of the peasants and against those who wanted to take away their land. As a result, he was very much liked by the peasants. Sister Aguchita was very happy to help, above all, grandmother Modesta in the kitchen. It was there that she learned a love for the kitchen, everything her mother taught her. And she instilled in Aguchita and her children love for God, love for one's neighbor, always being very human and helping others, those in need, to be generous, to be kind. Aguchita was in Reina de la Paz. It is a community and a social work program for young women with limited resources. She was the mother, the teacher, who radiated patience and affection for them, and also teaches them with the goal of making them discover their abilities. In this home, she also dedicated herself to young people. She taught them to grow their vegetables and legumes so that they could supplement their diet. Aguchita not only thought about the girls who were here, but also of the Mothers Club who came from the neighborhood, and she carried bags full of potatoes to share with them. Since 1989 until now, we still have difficult times. People feel insecure, fearful, and in that sense, the sisters were a kind of refuge for the people, in that they protected them and helped them to restore their dignity. Aguchita always wanted to be in Florida, in this beautiful jungle of the country. She always dreamed of being a missionary, and despite the hot weather, because the time the heat is very high, she spared no effort to serve the people, visit the sick, and always was at the service of others. She taught us how to make Peruvian donuts, alfajores, mango jelly. She made pastries, and sometimes she also helped us make chart cake and bread. Since she came, she was very active and business-minded here. She worked with the mothers, with our mothers. She taught them the art of sewing and many, many other things. That's why, from what they learned from Sister Aguchita, we learn also from them.
Está saliendo.
Sister Aguchita said that women are worth the same as men, because a woman is, apart from working at home, she also teaches her children. She's like a teacher for her children, and that we ought to be brave, to live, and to work. I, as a missionary, have often seen how women had no opportunities, how difficult it was for any girl to finish her primary studies and then go to work in Lima. Secondary studies, no one finished. There was not one female in the secondary school we founded. She also had the job of going from one community to another. Over long distances, we have gone out to Grau, Jose Galvez, far away from here. And sometimes, to get the job done, we had to stay and come back on the second or third day. She also came by car, her little car. I met her when I went to La Florida. I met her. I was introduced to her, and I was told, this is the sister. She's good. She welcomed us. She offered us rest. And we sat down to rest. She gave us breakfast. She postponed her cataract surgery several times. She needed to be operated in Lima, but she preferred to stay here because she said, they need me here. Aguchita's life was really given for the people. She was very true to her words. She wanted to be like that candle that while illuminating is also wearing down. This was really the life of Aguchita. Well, speaking of the sister was in love with the jungle. She loved to live here. She liked the trees, the environment, the river. When she walked along a path, she used to look at a tree and said, how beautiful is this little tree. Look at this flower. Look at this little branch. In other words, for her, the jungle was a paradise. And we just see it as something normal. But for her, things were different. So many good things that Sister Aguchita did. When we passed by a stream, she saw a blue butterfly. And just like a little girl, she wanted to catch it. But not to keep it, but to observe this beautiful creature, this butterfly that is such a beautiful creation of God. And it was just like a little girl, and I was really much impacted. She really acted like an innocent little girl. This is an orange plant that Sister Aguchita sowed many years ago, and that to this day provides us with food. For us, these trees are emblematic because they remind us a lot of Aguchita's work and her love for nature. In the early 1980s, the members of Sendero Luminoso and the MRTA started to arrive to the main cities of the central jungle, Satipo specifically, and they started to recruit small support groups or bases, which would then serve to start raiding and exercise violence directly against communities. Then, in 1989, late 1980s, Sendero Luminoso strongly increased its presence in the central jungle. This was evident in the displacement of approximately 10,000 people who had to flee from their communities because Sendero Luminoso started to kidnap and take children and young people from different communities to form what they later called their communities of popular support in the jungle, who then sometimes we didn't know when we heard them say terrorist, and then we didn't know what this terrorist thing is, but we knew them when they passed by. Well, oh, okay, oh yeah, this person is what they call a terrorist. We were also scared because sometimes they came and then we said something's going to happen here in this community, but thank God nothing happened. So we thought, oh, nothing may happen, but at some time they arrived and they caused a massacre here in La Florida. In 1990, I was 10 years old, and the day that she was teaching us to make sweets, she sent me and another little girl to collect lemons for her. When we left the little house to gather the lemons, we saw that there were terrorists in Juan Perez's house. Sister Aguchita took us by the hands and made a circle with us to pray the Hail Mary and the Our Father. Sister said to pray. I look out of the window and I see there's some 4 adults from Sendero. They were like haranguing and the people who were already assembled. While we were praying, a woman comes with her gun and points it at Sister. The woman, she had short hair and a striped blouse on. She arrived at the door and she said to the sister, "Go to the meeting." But Sister did not want to go. We were all there. She didn't want to. And the woman said to her, "If you don't do it, if you don't attend the meeting, I knock you down right now, right here." Hearing this, the little girls started to cry. So we told her, "Sister, come on. And so we took the sister from her arm, and between another girl and me, we walked to the stadium. And in the stadium, the woman who came behind us, she took the sister from us, she pulled us and put her in the line where there were other people, and that the blackheads were just yelling, "They all have to die." That's what they were shouting during the meeting. All of the people that would possibly be executed were already in line. And at the end of the line, there was Sister Agustina. Then they said, "Everyone, go to your houses, close your doors and windows." And when we were in our house, we heard the shots. The cry was from Mr. Juan's son because the bullet that fired his father went through his son. And then Lucho's son, also he was killed through a machine gun. And again, I heard bullet after bullet, and women were falling one by one. And then there was only Aguchita for working with the Ashanicas, for giving little candy to the little girls, the girls for distributing food, for organizing the women. And then, suddenly, she fell. She fell to her knees. But no time did I think that they had killed her. I did not believe that people were so bad because the sister Agustina Rivas, 70 years old, an old woman, what evil could she do? What harm? She was simply giving love. She was welcoming, giving affection to everyone, to the entire population. So that's why they called her Mom, because she always taught good things. That's why I'm outraged. I feel things in my heart that I can't understand, that there can be so much evil in human beings. When we all left, they were dead outside the house of Herman Rudas. Everyone was there. So, at the moonlight, I more or less could see Sister Aguchita. When I approached her and I touched her face, she was still warm, and there was a bullet that had entered her face. And the blood had spilled over the sidewalk. Then I broke the host that I had taken from the Blessed Sacrament, and I gave it to her, and I said, "Together with your people you have died also as they have." This detachment until, as I say, until the moment of her death. A lady told me, "Sister, please, could you give me the shoe of Sister Agustina? Because I would like to have a memory of her, because she was like my mother. She helped me and made me go forward." So she took off that shoe herself and she kept it. There I really felt that Aguchita, even on her deathbed, was always giving to others, and above all to those who were most in need. Then afterward they killed all the animals, smaller, bigger animals, cattle. They burned the farm, they burned the cars, and then on the second day, everyone disappeared. They disappeared through the streams, through the rivers, from the hills, and there was nobody left in La Florida. With the scraps that were left of the coffins of the others who died, they made a coffin for Aguchita. As always, like the poor, the last, with the leftovers, she was always humble. Agustina Rivas was one of the first victims of Sendero Luminoso from the Catholic Church for the important role that she played on behalf of indigenous peoples, especially the Shanika people. She represents very clearly the role of the Catholic Church in the Peruvian Amazon. Humanly, after this happened, I was left a little fragile, psychologically and humanly speaking. The grace I had to participate in her martyrdom of Sister Agustina, this gave me the strength, so much so that I came back here to La Florida after 25 years. In 2018, the sisters returned to La Florida, and they started working from scratch. And now we see that the work, especially with women, continues and is flourishing in La Florida. Well, yes, there is hope that this town will grow, that it will be much better than it was before. This is an ecological coffee, organic, which is made in the shade. It belongs to the village of La Florida, and all the coffee goes to the La Florida Cooperative. Yes, we are working with sisters. It's wonderful. It's a place where you can go to learn many things. Something that will be useful for our future, for us and for our children. Also because they also attend classes that are supported by the sisters. I picked up a stone from the river in memory of my grandfather, since we descend from him, trying to calm everything down and start over, always keeping his memory and remembering him. I believe the stone is a symbol of representation, that it cannot happen again, or that nobody wants this type of disaster to happen again, that it represents peace and freedom of the family I have resting in peace. At the memorial, the eye that cries. May we miss the solemn vow that the homeland has raised to the eternal. After nearly 20 years, after the internal armed conflict, the Commission of Truth and Reconciliation estimated that around 70,000 lives were lost. 80% of these deaths were residents of the rural area. Most of them were indigenous people. Those responsible for the deaths of Agustina Rivas and the inhabitants of La Florida were never found. It was May 22nd when the Pope approved the martyrhood of Aguchita and declared her beatified. The emotion was great because I thought, and I believe together all the other sisters, that God lifts up the humble, and in Aguchita this phrase of God came true. Well, yes, this is the greatest joy we've had, because in addition to our patron, Saint Santa Rosa, we will have a beatified woman in La Florida, Sister Aguchita. I always see her passing by among the girls with her smile to the wind for the one who will come, sowing the times to come, full of justice and freedom. Aguchita, as a martyr of this people of La Florida from this village, keeps following us along, these brothers and sisters who also died alongside her, who gave their lives, and the blood of the martyrs cannot stay in desert land, but it's always going to be sprouting more life, but with great force.